My name is Wole Otayemi, a state scorecard on our network where we have been taking a look at critical sectors of the economy. A couple of minutes ago, we were into the world of sport and we saw what the government is preparing to do in hosting a befitting national sport festival come January next year. This time around, we are going to the world of agriculture. You and I know that some of the basic responsibilities of the government at all levels is the provision of food, clothing, shelter, and adequate security for the citizenry. It is no more news that there is food scarcity or shortage in the land and the attendant issue of high cost of that commodity or those commodities. The way out of this major issue, which is affecting a lot of countries, including our own Nigeria. Here is the part of the world that is agrarian in nature. How can we deal with the issue of food security or scarcity? We are looking at all this and we are taking a look at all this holistically with the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture in Ogun State, the man that knows its onions when it comes to the issue surrounding his ministry. He is no other person than Hon.Bolu. Hon.Bolu, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Otayemi, and good afternoon to all our listeners at home.
Looking at the comparative advantage of having forest, land with nutrients in our areas here, in the southwest region of the country, in the south region of the country, where are we in terms? Because those opportunities are from having fantastic weather, good soil texture, and soil nutrients, and the rest of them. How do we navigate those advantages to our side in producing food for our people?
Thank you. The way we can harness all the resources that God has blessed us with in the southern part of Nigeria, which is abundant land, fertile land, and agile workforce who are ready to deliver on their core mandate of ensuring that there is food production in the southern part of Nigeria.
Continue.
Is to encourage our farmers to keep delivering on their mandates to increase food production. And the only way we can encourage them is for government to ensure that there is a wonderful working environment, that will make investors that are interested in doing agribusiness come to the southern part of Nigeria to do their business.
In the late 50s, the Western Regional Government, led by late Chief Obafemi Wole, introduced what it called farm settlement. We have some of them in Ogun State. What is their state as we speak now? The farm settlements.
We have 8 farm settlements in Ogun State. They are across the length and breadth of Ogun State. And as you have rightly said, those farm settlements were brought about during the Western region, even before Ogun State was created.
Yes.
The idea behind those farm settlements is to have our farmers live on the farm. So they work, live, and play on the farm. So those farm settlements are still in existence. Our farmers are still predominantly working from those farm settlements. And from time to time, we develop capacity building programs for these farmers on these farm settlements. You can recall that when the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria came to Ogun State sometime last month to launch a renewed hope initiative agenda, she came and she empowered a lot of women agripreneurs in Ogun State. During that program as well, about 1,500 farmers were also given input. Most of these 1,500 farmers were drawn from the 8 farm settlements across Ogun State.
Okay.
These inputs were given to them to reduce their cost of production so that this can add in reducing the cost of food in Nigeria.
Yes, providing seedlings, fertilizers, insecticide, pesticide, and everything to farmers. Of what advantage would this be for food production?
Well, as I said, the advantage will be in 2 folds.
Okay.
Providing input to farmers, one, you will reduce their cost. Their cost of production will be reduced to a barest minimum. We have different programs. Some of the inputs we are giving to them are free. Some are 30% subsidized rate, while some are at 50% subsidized rate. Definitely, with all these initiatives, the cost of smallholder farmers in Ogun State will be so low, so that by the time they begin to harvest their produce, their profit margin will be high. So because their profit margin is high, by the time they take their produce to the market, they will be able to put in place. They are all geared towards but in Nigeria in general.
I understand the state government built some few markets and boreholes in some areas. What is the brain behind this?
Yeah, thank you. Just last week, the Ministry of Agri commissioned 4 markets and 3 boroughs. Those 4 markets are in Obafemi Awodiyi local government, Hon.Bolu local government, Ijebu East local government, and Ijebu North East local government. And is in combined, they have about 80 stores in these markets.
Okay.
They are also solar powered boreholes. The initiative is the intervention of His Excellency Prince Dapo Abiodun in the agricultural sector in Ogun State is end to end. That is, we are registering our farmers, knowing exactly where they are, knowing what they cultivate. We are doing capacity building for these farmers so that they can begin to follow the best agronomical practices, so that they can know when to plant. They have climate smart farming information. They also have financial inclusion information. Now they're able to do bankable proposals, so that they can begin to have access to facility from financial institutions. So we are doing a lot of capacity building for our farmers. After knowing where they are, after registering them, we do capacity building. After the capacity building, we ensure that they have input to plant. After the input, we will link them with mechanized farming, so that they can begin to cultivate more than what they were cultivating before now. After that, we link them with extension officers under the Ogun State Agricultural Development Program, OGADE. There are extension officers that visit all these farms to ensure that our farmers are following the best economical practices. And we ensure that our extension officers as well are well trained and they have the tools necessary for them to carry out their activities. Just about 2 months ago, I was in Ogadeb, where we gave extension officers motorcycles so that they were able to go to all these interland that we have our farmers to ensure that they follow the best agronomical practices. We also link our farmers in Ogun State to off-takers, that is processors, so that they can begin to add value to their produce. And lastly, our farmers in Ogun State as well now have market store, so they can take their produce directly to the market without going through an intermediary. All these efforts are geared towards reducing post-harvest losses and also improving the livelihood of our farmers in Ogun State.
Honorable Commissioner, I want to be specific now, between Imokwe and Aton in Ijebu Northeast, that areas of land there, they plant a lot of rice. Between Aton, Imewuro, and Odidio, they plant a lot of rice. But the complaints of all of these farmers is that they hardly have rice mills that can help them, the rice mill machine, that can help them to turn their farm produce into finished product. What is government doing in this regard?
Yeah, part of our framework that we want to use to tackle this challenge of food insecurity that is a major impediment to the growth of our nation is to ensure that our farmers have adequate access to market.
Okay.
You have mentioned that in all those areas the farmers are having challenges reaching their market. I'm aware that in that zone there's a mill, there's a rice mill that Ijebu Northeast axis. There's also a rice mill here in Ashiro. What the ministry has done is that we have gone into partnership with private sector players so that they can refurbish these rice mills so that they can begin to receive paddy from our farmers. The one in Ashiro is fully operational as I speak with you now, and I believe that the one in Ijebu Northeast will be fully operational in the days and weeks ahead. Apart from doing PPP to ensure that government assets is fully utilized, yes, and well optimized, we are also bringing our farmers into cooperatives, so that they can begin to, apart from putting them in cooperative, we're also bringing them into clusters, okay, so that we can have designated clusters around Ogun State, so that some areas will be designated as rice cluster. All those areas that you mentioned are in the works to be designated as the rice cluster, just like Igua and Okeodon in Yewa axis will be designated as an oil palm cluster. Yes. Just like Ogun Waterside will be designated as oil palm and rubber cluster. We are designating these areas as clusters so that farmers can begin to share resources. So that by the time you have 20 farmers that they are all doing planting rice, they don't have to have 20 processing mills in that axis. They can have a single processing facility that they can all share. They don't have to have 20 tractors in that environment. They can have 2 tractors that they all share. They don't have to go for individual training as well. They can pay for capacity building and they will all share information among themselves.
Yes.
So we are practicing cluster farming, and we're also putting our farmers into cooperatives so that they can jointly have access to financial institutions and collect loans at favorable interest rates.
Apart from providing financial backup for farmers, aren't you looking at areas of getting them seedlings, pesticides, and among other facilities that they can use on their farmlands?
I'm sure you have been following the news. And if you have been following the news, you realize that this year alone, we have been able to impact about 30,000 farmers in Ogun State when it comes to areas of input. We have done several programs. Just yesterday, we were in Ilaro Zone, where we distributed input to the farmers in Ilaro Farm Club in Ilaro Zone. We have been to Ikene as well. We have distributed seedlings to farmers in Ikene district, also in Ijebu and also in Abeokuta.
Yes.
Apart from having this initiative emanate from the Ministry of Agriculture by itself, due to the approval that we got from His Excellency Prince Dapò Abiodun, we also have intervention program with different corporate entities.
Yes.
And with different foundations. One of such is British American Tobacco Foundation, which just 2 weeks ago gave input to over 500 maize farmers. They gave them maize seedlings, herbicide and fertilizer and what have you. Apart from just giving those 500 farmers input, they also trained 1,000 maize farmers, in different agronomical practices. So it's not only the government that is intervening in the affairs of our farmers. We also have partners. We also have developmental partners that we're partnering with in terms of getting inputs from our farmers. Some of them are value chain. Some of them is under the value chain development program of the federal government. Another one is the OGKS program in partnership with the federal government as well. We also have some with some other developmental partners.
And any collaboration with FADAMA?
Most definitely, we have a relationship with FADAMA under the OGKS program. Don't forget that this OGKS program came about due to the impact of COVID-19. During the COVID-19 situation, a lot of farmers were affected by the issues that came about during that period. So this program, in conjunction with FADAMA, is to ameliorate the pains that the farmers went through during the COVID-19 era.
During the lockdown.
And this FADAMA program has distributed inputs to over 8,800 farmers in Ogun State. And these inputs are free of charge, at no fund whatsoever to the farmers.
Honorable Commissioner, whenever comes across you, will not know that you are as loaded as this, because you look so just unassuming, quiet, and easygoing. But what you are dishing out here is like a form of intoxication to whoever is listening to you. But let me quickly come to this area, and that has to do with it, because when you go to Ijebu, when you come to Abeokuta, when you go to Yewa, the first thing you ask for in the afternoon is, I want to take some gari. And someone will tell you, oh, I want to take Ijebu gari. They will export it to abroad. Why is gari scarce, despite the fact that we produce a lot in our state?
Yeah, thank you very much. That question is a very direct question, and I'm sure to be interesting to the listeners as well.
Yeah.
Food is not seasonal. And food is not something that you can postpone as well. You can't say for the month of June I don't intend to eat, then I'll continue eating again in July.
It's not possible.
You intend to feed every day, and most people actually feed on a daily basis. So that's why in between this program we have to give kudos to our farmers that till to the ground to ensure that they put food on the table.
Yes.
Now coming straight to your question in terms of cassava, putting it in context, Thailand last year produced just 31 million metric tons of cassava, and from the 31 million metric tons of cassava that Thailand produced, they earned $1.5 billion in terms of foreign exchange. Last year, Nigeria is the biggest producer of cassava in the whole world, and last year Nigeria produced 62 million metric tons of cassava. From the 62 million metric tons of cassava, we only earned about $900,000. That tells you something. And let me tell you exactly where the gap is. The difference between Thailand that earned $1.5 billion by producing just 31 million
Metric
tons,
tons.
and us earning just 900,000 and producing double of that
figure.
is that our people feed on cassava. There's a lot of aku eating in the east. There's a lot of gari eating in the south.
Yes.
And I wonder what use they utilize cassava for up north. So there's a lot of usage in terms of food consumption in cassava. So we utilize a lot of it, and now there is a competition for cassava because there are a lot of agro-based industries that are coming up, most especially in Ogun State. As you will agree with me, Ogun State has now become the industrial capital of Nigeria, and because of that, we have a lot of agro-based industry, particularly situated in Ogun State. And some of these industries use cassava as their major source of raw material. They convert it to starch, some convert it to cassava flour, some convert it to sorbitol. So there is competition for cassava between food consumption now and industrial use. So the only thing I will call on our farmers to do is to continue to plant cassava, because this is an opportunity for them to take advantage of the huge gap, huge deficit in cassava production in Nigeria and in the world.
Okay, let's now go straight to storage and preservation. Not only cassava that is of immense value to human consumption, even tomatoes, pepper, red oil, and the rest of them are equally on the high side in terms of prices in the market. How can we produce more to lessen the prices and bring it down?
To put it in context, the current figure that came out from the Bureau of Statistics shows us that inflation level in Nigeria is currently put at 33%.
Yes.
But if you look at food inflation at the moment, food inflation in Nigeria now is over 50%. Yes. So you know that in that basket of inflation, food is a vital factor and is actually higher than the median figure for the entire inflation of Nigeria. So it shows that if a lot is done in bringing down the cost of food, then we will be able to bring down the high rate of inflation in our country as soon as possible. And I believe that His Excellency, the President of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has agriculture as one of the cornerstones that he wants to use to turn around the Nigerian economy. Also, His Excellency Prince Agbabio, when he came into governance, listed 5 parameters that he wants to use to bring succor and bring about dividend of democracy to the people of Ogun State. And number 1 is infrastructural development. Number 2 is social welfare and well-being. E is educational development. S is Y is youth empowerment and development. While the A is agricultural development. Yes. So you can see that His Excellency President Agbabio as well knows the importance of agriculture, because agriculture at the moment is not just about feeding. It's not just about food security. We have to ensure that having taken care of what we are going to eat, we have to ensure that there's adequate raw material as well to feed our agro-based industries.
Honorable Commissioner, at a point in our national life, we used to produce, or we used to engage in cash crops, cocoa, palm tree, rubber, and kola nut, and the rest of them. How can we navigate all these? How can we bring them back? Planting plantations of all these items, so that when crude oil decide to diminish, we'll lean on agriculture.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because even though I wasn't born there, but I read it in history that at some point in the western region of Nigeria, under the leadership of late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, there was free education, and the free education was facilitated and be financed by the income generated from the agricultural sector.
Yes.
From that sector, they were able to build cocoa house, they were able to start a bank, they were able to put a lot of things in place during that time. Things have not really changed. we still have the land resources. So the only thing that Ogun State government is doing is to ensure that there's an enabling environment for investors that want to have access to this land. Also, we have some existing government facilities. Some of these plantations are still under the care of the state government, and we are really desirous of private-public partnerships, that will turn around these existing assets. They are mostly moribund, that will turn around them and bring them back to their previous glory.
Yes.
So the current administration in Ogun State and the Ministry of Agriculture in particular is really focused on ensuring that government has less hand in managing this plantation, in managing these businesses.
You know why I'm asking you this, Honorable Commissioner? If you travel to Akpoje in Ijebu North, off Ijebu, you understand what I'm saying? When you travel to Akpoje, what you find there, Honorable Commissioner, is the this oil palm produce in large quantity, and some of the farmers there, they do their oil production manually. Is it possible for government to involve the private sector in having oil palm milling machine in that axis, in the axis like Igua and the Yewa side where they plant a lot of cassava? Can we have a gari processing machine that can produce gari in large number so that we can begin to package and sell, and what I'm trying to say? Is it possible, Honorable Commissioner, in partnership with people as you have said?
Sure, it's possible. I will start with the Akpoje that you have mentioned. Akpoje is an asset that I will not hide behind a finger, and tell you here that is an asset that is well optimized. I believe that the asset is fully underutilized at the moment. It can be fully optimized, but it is not in the purview of government to manage that asset. So I'm using this opportunity to call on well-meaning Ogun State indigents that may have plans, that may have proposals and propositions for Akpoje and all other plantations in Ogun State, that they should bring them forward so that we can look at them and we can look at how we can begin to partner with them in turning around some of these assets.
You know why I ask you this, Honorable Commissioner? The volume of water at that Akpoje River, that Osun River in Akpoje, apart from the land plantations that can equally hold there, will be of advantage in terms of fish rearing and horticulture and every other part of animal husbandry.
I agree with you, but I would like us to not put our entire focus on Akpoje alone.
Yeah.
Because Akpoje is just one of the plantations that are currently under the care of a parasitic under the Ministry of Agriculture, which is Ogun State Agricultural Development Corporation.
Okay.
They don't only have Akpoje oil palm plantation under their care. They also have Lomero oil palm plantation, which is in Ogun Water side.
Okay.
They also have Ibarile cashew plantation, which is in Abeokuta here.
Yes.
And they also have stake in Onishin Estate Limited. They used to have a majority stake at some point, but as time goes on, we are trying to whittle down the influence on government on that particular asset, okay, so that it will not take the toil it will not take direction of the others, so they can become a private sector led and private sector driven asset.
This program is streamed live on our Facebook page at Ogun Radio Abeokuta, and you can equally watch us on our YouTube page at Ogun Radio Abeokuta. The numbers to call 003-437-9453, 081-5032-0226. The Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture is here in the house, and he has told us that all the farm settlements in Ogun State are functioning very, very well. He has equally said that where necessary actions need to be taken, the government is willing to do it, and they are going to partner with the private sector in moving the agricultural sector to the next level. He has assured us that all the farm settlements will continue to be the processing unit for food for Ogun State indigenes. And he has explained to us why gari is scarce, saying people now export it. Companies in Ogun State now buy it in large numbers to produce other products. So that tells you that gari is not only for consumption, it's now a raw material for certain products, in which he has mentioned some of them. So you can call us, ask the commissioner the questions, or we want to seek clarifications, or you pass comment. He's ready to listen to you. 0803-437-9453, 0815-032-0226 are the two numbers to call this afternoon. If you are there, we are here. If you are here, we are there. So let's listen to you so that the commissioner will take you and will answer your question. Honorable Commissioner, sir, let's take a look at preservation. One thing is to plant crops. The next stage is to harvest. How do we preserve? Gone are the days when we used to have silos, storage facilities. Can they still be stored? There are some crops that you cannot just store. For example, you cannot store tomato for too long. But if we have companies that can turn tomatoes into paste, what an advantage would that be for us, Honorable Commissioner?
Yeah, thank you. As I rightly pointed out earlier,
Yes.
it's not the business of government, to begin to buy processing facilities, for agro-based investors. However, we have intervened in the areas of cassava processing facilities. We have intervened in the area of rice mills. As I told you earlier, we have a rice mill in Ashero.
Yes.
And we also have one in Ijebu Northeast that are currently
Kindly excuse, let me take this call. Hello, good afternoon. Your body, thanks for calling today. Your question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Now, we all know that Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava.
Okay. Cassava.
Alright?
Yes. Go ahead, sir.
In Ogun State, we will talk about in Ogun State. When I was a farmer, I used to plant cassava. Now, why don't we in Ogun State train back the produce board?
Okay. Produce board.
We'll gather all the farmers together, all the cassava farmers, buy this cassava from them, or ask them to form cooperatives.
Yes.
Gather cassava, produce garri in large quantity, so that we can sell to what you call it. At the time there was this company that was selling crop products. What did you remember?
Yes, sir.
This water company important there.
Yes, sir.
Bulk purchase.
Bulk purchase, yes.
So that we can bring down the price of garri. It is a shameful that garri that we should sell 10 naira per kuku is now, almost shameful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pa Hon.Bolu, for your time with us this afternoon. He was asking you how we can bring back produce board and bulk purchasing opportunities so that Nigerians can go there and buy at subsidized prices in which government will control. Okay, 0803-437-9453. We'll take one or two more calls so that Commissioner can have his can take his leave. But before then, let's take one or two more calls. Hello, good afternoon. Okay, the line is breaking. 003-437-9453, 0815-0320-226. Two numbers to call. If you get across to us, we'll quickly take your comments. But produce board, is it likely to happen?
Thank you, Mr. Hon.Bolu, for that very intelligent question. Produce board or bulk purchase is something that is currently being considered by this current administration. It is currently work in progress.
Okay.
I believe that in weeks and months ahead, we'll begin to see the results of the back-end efforts that we're putting in place in these regards. However, having said that, Mr. Hon.Bolu will agree with me that we have started using the distribution that we're doing with rice,
yes,
as a template, to see an idea of how it goes, just to use it as a pilot. Currently, the Ogun State government is distributing rice at a discount to all the state civil servants. And it was started here in Abeokuta, but now they are taking it to all the different local governments in Ogun State to ensure that at least civil servants are able to get access to this essential commodity at a reduced price to the market rate. So we're looking at how we can replicate it and how we can scale this further. However, when it coming to making all the highest cassava producer, we're already the highest cassava producer in Nigeria,
yes,
and Nigeria is the highest cassava producer in the whole world.
yes.
We don't intend to rest on that. We intend to consolidate on it and really expand
the business.
really expand on it. And that's why we're giving the farmers all the support that we're giving them.
Honorable Commissioner, sir, is there any way the government can organize cooperative societies among farmers?
Yeah, of course, we have done that already. Okay. Thank you for bringing that back to my knowledge because Mr. Hon.Bolu mentioned it. I would like to let the people of Ogun State know that the Ministry of Agri, in conjunction with the Ogun State Economic Transformation Project,
Yes,
they have a mandate to register 40,000 farmers. At the moment, we have registered 30,000 farmers. These 30,000 farmers have all undergone training in terms of capacity building. And all these 30,000 farmers have been put in clusters and cooperatives. They've been put in clusters and cooperatives.
Yeah.
And apart from putting them in clusters and cooperatives, they have been linked with off-takers for their produce. So we are sure that these farmers will not record post-harvest losses. Apart from linking them with off-takers for their produce, they are also being coordinated by the people that we call value chain development firms. In Ogun State at the moment, under the Oxford program, we have 8 active value chain development firms working with the farmers of Ogun State. Okay. There are 2 value chain development firms. Among those 8 VCDFs, they have registered 30,000 farmers. They have shared them into clusters. They have shared them into cooperatives. There's enormous capacity building going on at the moment, and there's enormous inputation going on at the moment for these farmers.
We have Oja farmers market at Ashero. Is it likely for us to have it in other government of the state, Honorable Commissioner?
Please come again.
We have the farmers market. We call it Oja in Ashero here in Agriulture. Is it possible it is replicated in other council areas in the state?
Yeah, most definitely. And as I said at the beginning of the program, apart from the Oja that we have here in Abeokuta.
Yes.
Last week, I was in 4 local governments last week. Okay. And what I was doing in 4 local governments was commissioning markets. Okay. And these markets are for farmers. These markets are for farmers. And the reason for this market is for us to be able to use this as an avenue for them to sell their produce, reduce the issue of middlemen, okay, and also at the same time bring down the cost of food. Bring down the cost of food by reducing post-harvest losses.
Yes, Honorable Commissioner, before I allow you to go, sir, one of the areas of farming is animal husbandry. Fishery, rabbitry, poultry, piggery, snarery, and the rest of them. Of what value are these to the value chain in agriculture?
In the entire agricultural ecosystem in Ogun State,
yes,
we understand the importance of the food system. So we are not leaving any subsector untouched. When it comes to the fish subsector, for instance,
yes,
Ogun State is the aquaculture capital of West Africa. We produce the largest quantum of fish. We have the largest fish clusters. We have a fish cluster in Ikene. We have another one in Lashe. We have another one in Hon.Bolu. Everywhere. That one is called everywhere. So we have 4 or 5 fish clusters in Ogun State that don't have anything less than about 600 to 650 farmers in each of them. Okay. So we are really big when it comes to aquaculture in Ogun State. And the way we are intervening with our fish farmers is by ensuring that we are providing soft loans for them.
And fingerlings too, when it is necessary.
Yeah, let's just 28,000 fingerlings last week.
Okay.
So our fish farmers.
Let's take this call. Hello, good afternoon. Quickly. Yes, sir, quickly. Your name? Okay. 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 And Elubo? Yeah. Yes. Okay. But nobody let him respond. He said, will government kindly involve federal pensioners and other state pensioners in the sale of rice? to workers?
Most definitely, the bracket will be expanded, as I mentioned earlier. We cannot make just the civil service the elitist, an elitist subsector of
The economy,
of the entire state.
Yes.
So most definitely, in which side, you see the 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 demographic being expanded in terms of which.
Now back to the fishery you are talking about. You said government provided 20.
Okay, so I was just saying that just last week under the last program we had, we provided 28,000 juveniles and 209 fish feed bags to our fish farmers. And apart from that, just a few months ago,
Yes.
the everywhere fish cluster that is in Hon.Bolu local government that has about 650 fish farmers,
Okay.
the Executive graciously approved for us to give them a 0% interest rate facility of 50 million naira
to aid their farming business.
Yeah, with a 6-month moratorium to aid their farming business. This is for them to begin to process what they farm. As I speak with you in Ilashe, there is a dredging operation going on in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, in collaboration with the Ministry of Environment. Ministry of Environment is working assiduously in Ilashe to ensure that our fish farmers in Ilashe never experience the issues of flood again. Over the years, every year they experience the issue of flood, and the team visited there earlier this year, and we assured them that it will become a thing of the past. So we are working in tandem with the Ministry of Environment at the moment, and they are clearing all the environmental issues that they may have in Ilashe. So apart from just giving input, we're ensuring that we are seeing to the well-being of our farmers so that we can really achieve our twofold objective of increasing food security, increasing food production, and enriching the livelihood of our farmers.
I don't know whether government is thinking in the direction of helping farmers to get farm tools, the farm implement to work on their farmland. Probably you help them till their land, and then they go there and plant, and they plow back certain things back to the system.
Yeah, we do, and we have a parasita that is the core mandate of that parasita. It's called Ogun State Agro Services Corporation. Ogun State Agro Services Corporation is in charge of land clearing. So they have bulldozers and tractors which they lease out to farmers who are desirous of them, and they also sell herbicides and herbicide, maces, and fertilizer and what have you to farmers, at reduced cost to the market price.
Honorable Commissioner, I want to thank you sincerely for coming to the program today. It's been a pleasure having ministry. Our focal point has been Ministry of Agriculture, and the Honorable Commissioner has been here with us alongside other officials of his ministry, telling us about activities of the ministry. He has equally promised that the farm settlement, the 8 of them in the state, are all functioning well. And he has said produce board is returning, bulk purchasing is really returning. Well, we are looking forward to having a timeout that will be beneficial to everybody here in Ogun State. Well, we want to thank you so much for coming, Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture in Ogun State, and we want to believe that Gary that is becoming too expensive will come down by the time the harvesting season comes down, because you have told us that they are planting it in large quantity in different parts. You have mentioned Egua area of the state, you have mentioned Ijebu of the state, and the people at the center here too are equally planting. So we want to thank you sincerely for your time with us this afternoon. He's not alone in the studios. The permanent secretary, Mr. Samuel Adogun, is already with us in the studios here this afternoon, and my friend Hon.Bolu is the press officer of the ministry. He's equally commissioner to the studio. The team leader for OGBC here in the studio is accompanied by the Deputy General Manager Program Services, Mr. Gbenga Moton, Deputy General Manager Marketing Services, Nia Mushon, DGM Engineering, Engineer Fema Adeyanju, and the AGM News, Gbenga Oshindele. These gentlemen and fantastic GM have led me into today's production. I'm equally assisted in the studio by Titi Lokwe Awobajo for this afternoon session. Samuel Adenoye has been pressing all the right buttons, and Folake Shueton has been behind the ICT to make sure we appear on all our social media platforms. My name is Wole Otayemi. A farmer is a king. As individual, plant something to harvest something. See you again some other time. Good afternoon.